What's going on, guys? DFSWarstrike here, and here in this video, I'll be breaking down USFL Week 6 DraftKings slate. With that being said, please like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Come join my Discord. I'll have the link down below. I will end up posting my cheat sheet now in the Discord. On top of that, I give out my DraftKings cores. I give out prize picks plays. So if you guys are into it, just sign up right there in the link down below, and we'll get started here on this slate. To start off the very first game, we have Tampa Bay and Philadelphia. Should probably be the closest game of the weekend. It's the first game to start off the Saturday. And I think that this game could go either way. If I had to lean one way, I'm probably leaning towards Tampa Bay winning this one. Choosing out of the quarterbacks, I went to Casey last week and was pretty disappointing. As you can see there, he only had 7 fantasy points. The week before that, he had 18. But that was against Michigan. But he did go up against Birmingham, which is undefeated right now. So I think it's okay for GPPs to go back to him if you wanted to. Then over here for Jordan, I think he's more of a cash play. You can see here he's kind of back and forth. He's starting to get more in a rhythm now after the first 2 weeks gone by. He played against some tough defenses, and now he's starting to get on a roll. Michigan, who I think is a decent defense, he was able to put up 19 fantasy points there. I do think that that is a solid option if you wanted to go to that end of stuff. BJ Emmons is probably not somebody I'm too high on. I think he's kind of too expensive for what he's really doing. You can see there he's only had 1 double-digit fantasy week. So I think that's too expensive. Out of these plays for Philadelphia, I like Paul Terry. Paul Terry was probably one of my top backs last week that I had on the core at 20 fantasy points. With Casey at quarterback, he likes to do a lot of dump offs. You can see there the last 2 weeks, he's had 8 receptions on 11 targets for a running back. That's really high. He did have a big run for a rushing touchdown. I do like him here at his price range at 5,300. You can see just about every game he's played, he's almost put up near double-digit fantasy points. So I do like Paul Terry here. He's probably my favorite one to go to. And for GPP purposes, I'd probably rather go to Washington over Emmons just because Washington's the one finding the end zone. You can see last week against Michigan, he ended up with 14 carries for 48 yards and 2 touchdowns. So I do like Washington for GPP purposes if you guys wanted to go there. Going over here to the receiver side of things, we'll start here at Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, there's just not many receivers that I'm digging here because I just don't think their passing offense is that efficient. So I'm probably not going to have any Tampa Bay receivers, just considering the 3 games after I think are going to be blowouts and should be handled pretty easily by each team. Over on Philadelphia side, I don't think, Devin Gray last week didn't really have a good connection. Maybe now this week with DeAndre being out, DeAndre saw 3 targets last week and he's out this game due to a hamstring injury. I know Bug Howard is somebody who I think is extremely safe. If you want to go to Bug Howard here, you can see he sees the targets. He only had 1 catch last week, but he's had 6 and 6 targets the last 2 weeks since Casey's been at quarterback. So if you guys want to go there, I think that is a solid option. Looking here at Alexander, 2 fantasy points last week does interest me. And then Chris Rowland here. He did catch all 5 targets. Maybe he sees an upgrade. Now with DeAndre being out this week, other than that below there, I don't see anything. Jordan, I do think is a solid play. See there, 9 targets last week, 3 targets 2 weeks ago. So maybe we see an upgrade there. And then Devin Gray to top things off. You can see 3 targets, 7 targets a week before that. So I do think Rollin here is probably one of the better plays, just based off pricing, but probably the best overall play that comes here on here would be Bug Howard. That's probably who I would go to. But other than that, I'm not really going to have too much of this game. I'm going to probably be more riding the next 3 games. And we'll get over to those 3 right now. Here with Michigan, if Paxton Lynch plays, I haven't looked at all the injury news yet, but if Paxton Lynch plays, I think Paxton Lynch is probably going to be the starter. When Paxton Lynch was playing with Patterson, Lynch was actually starting. What was it? Let's see. Yeah, week 3, Paxton Lynch actually started that game right there. He just left with an ankle injury and he's been out since. So I think Paxton Lynch is probably going to be the play there, but I'm probably not going to have anybody from Michigan. Michigan's probably going to be a full fade for me just because Corbin would be a good play, but I see them trailing the whole game, so they're going to have to throw their way out of stuff. Lenore Jr. would probably be the only guy that I would have ownership towards. But the Stallions here, you can pretty much go any way you want. If you want Jamar Smith, I'm completely okay with that. You can see here last week, Jamar Smith was 17 of 22. You can see the fantasy points he's put up week 1, 2, 3, and 5. I think he is a solid option if you want to go there. He's probably going to be one of the top quarterbacks on the slate. CJ is so far from what I know is inactive this week. And then you got Brooks James. Brooks James probably going to step into the starting role. And I think Brooks James is solid. Birmingham's not really a team that likes to run the ball too crazy amount unless they're in control of the game. You can see there, CJ there stepping in 23 fantasy points last week. Scarborough, I don't really, see 7 attempts. Maybe he's the one that takes the main backfield here, but I think Brooks is a solid play here. You can see that he knows more of the offense. He's week 1 through 5 has seen carries. You can see Bo here really only saw his first couple carries last week. Over at the receiver end of things, Bolden Jr. obviously is a decent play. He's going to see high targets, high usage. Mitchell here, I think is solid. Like I said, Birmingham is probably the best team. They're undefeated right now. Carey is probably somebody I won't touch based off the usage from everyone else. You can see 8 targets. If Williams sees the targets, he's gonna make plays. He's a huge playmaker. You can see there 38 yards, 47, 64 yards are his longest routes. So he has the ability to make big plays. I think he's more of a boomer bust option for you there. After that, the other 3 I'm not going to really touch. But other than that, for the first Saturday slates, that's probably going to be it for me. And then Pittsburgh and New Orleans should be another easy game. Again, probably not going to touch anyone from Pittsburgh. We'll see. I think Lee may actually get some playing time. You can see Lee last week, 19 of 32, 170 yards, 2 touchdowns. Like, I think that's pretty solid. That's probably the most explosive I've seen Pittsburgh. Maybe Lee comes in, steps in. For GPP, if you're going to do a dart throw, maybe you put Lee on a line. But Kyle Sloter here throws it tons of times. You can see there, 36 attempts last week. Was the second fewest of the season. It's pretty much guaranteed for double-digit fantasy points and going up against Pittsburgh. I'm not really too scared of Pittsburgh, especially with Kyle, but he'll probably be chalk. Jordan Ellis, I think, is a solid play. And then Garrett obviously is decent, but with them trailing, I won't like it. Larry Rose is gone. For GPP, Anthony Jones saw 8 carries last week at 3K. He saw 2 targets for 5 yards. That's double-digit touches. In a game against Pittsburgh where they should be blowing out, maybe Anthony Jones is going to see some carries. So if you want to go to Anthony Jones as a dart throw this week, I'm all for it. Going over to the receivers, Gaither obviously is the top receiver for Pittsburgh. I'm fine with Gaither, and I'm also fine with Trey Walker. I think them 2 are solid plays. Dixon is somebody that's kind of highly priced this week to me. I think Adams is probably the number 1 receiver on the team, but look at the targets 2 out of the last 3 weeks. So if you want to go to Dixon, if you have the money to afford it, I'm for it. Poindexter, I think, is too expensive. Adams, to me, is the best playmaker on this team. You can see how high the targets are: 7, 9, 5, 9, and 4. 15 and 25 fantasy points the last couple of weeks. He did play against Birmingham and was stunted there, but then against Tampa had 16. So I think Adams, Canelo, I think, is a decent option. The thing with New Orleans is I think they have so many weapons that it's kind of hard to predict which one's going to be the one going off that week. But I like Adams at 6,100 is probably my favorite play. I probably won't go below as Trey Walker for this game. All right, moving on to Houston and New Jersey. DeAndre Johnson runs the ball a ton. The only issue with him is what's the game plan for the quarterbacks this week? How much is Perez going to play next to Johnson? With New Jersey probably being one of the worst passing defense, are we going to see more Perez, or are we going to see DeAndre Johnson, where he had 21 attempts last week and also ran the ball 10 times and he had 23 fantasy points? He looked really solid. as they had a big win against New Orleans. I like DeAndre Johnson this week. Honestly, I think they should get away from the dual quarterback and then just ride Johnson. Johnson's clearly the better play. They're more explosive when he's in. He had his best week with the team last week. I think against Houston coming up, I think he's solid. Thorson is another play that I don't think's too bad. They are in a tough matchup here, so he could be throwing a lot. As I see them trailing to New Jersey probably most of the game. The thing with him, if he's very touchdown dependent, so if he's not going to be scoring touchdowns, you can see the passing yards, all that's not too high. New Jersey claims to be the best defense as of last week, so Clayton here I think is only for GPP purposes. Luis Perez, I probably won't have any. I'll probably just take the gamble that Johnson's going to ride the team. Williams, I think, is too highly priced. You can see there the last 3 out of 4 weeks he's had single digits. Thompson is one of the top backs in the league, but with them trailing, I don't really know how much he's going to be touching the ball. I see it in the mid-teens like it has been in the games that they've been trailing. Saw 24 carries here, but it was a close game, 26-27. I don't really see Victor is probably going to be my favorite play out of the running backs in this game. You can see there Victor has had a touchdown in 4 straight weeks. He's had 16 or more fantasy points in the last 3 weeks. He's seeing decent usage, getting receptions, getting runs, and finding the end zone is the crucial thing. And I think with pairing him up with Johnson, I think is key. I think that'd be very solid for this week. Isaiah Zuber here, I think is a good option. You can see he's a touchdown machine as well. He scored it 4 out of the 5 weeks. So with them being trailing, he's probably going to see a lot of receptions. Turpin is probably Johnson's favorite target. You can see last week he had 6 receptions, 7 the week before that. He's had 3 straight weeks of 14 or more fantasy points. Jojo Ward here, I mean, he's a playmaker, but he was transferred to the inactive roster recently. He keeps kind of bouncing back and forth. So it really just depends if he's playing or not. But you can see when he's playing, he's clearly a playmaker. But it's unclear what they're doing with him when it comes to inactive and active. Simmons, don't really like the target usage. I'd probably rather go to Ratliff. I think Ratliff is probably seeing the targets more. He's just got to see the receptions. Satterfield, I think, is decent. Shepard, I think, is decent. After that, I'm probably not going to have too much of anyone. But that's really it, guys. I will have my player pool, my cheat sheet, my core, and all my favorite plays and up to date on the injury news in my Discord. Please come join the Discord. Let's have fun. You guys can reach me there. If you have any other questions, you can reach me on my Twitter, as that link will be posted down below. I hope this video helped, guys, and good luck on this slate, okay? Bye-bye.